Hey there, welcome to the Hot Slice Podcast. I am your host, Denise Greer, executive editor here at Pizza Today, and with me is Kate Lavin. Hello.
Hello.
Oh man, so I just want to let y'all know this is the first podcast that Kate and I are together on since she came to her first pizza expo. And I'm telling you what, this was a big expo. Like this was a giant pizza expo, and it was the energy there was amazing, and it was such a good show. But I want to get Kate's first impression of her first expo. Tell us, Kate.
I had the best time. It definitely lived up to the hype. Everyone had been saying, "Oh, you just have to see it. I can't wait for you to see it." And it was so much fun. I had a great time. I really loved the Wednesday night block party and World Pizza Games. That was hilarious.
Did you ever think that you would see that kind of like dough acrobatics and things happening, like the dancing and singing and like just all of it?
No, I thought I knew. I thought I was prepared. I was not prepared. It was just so funny. Everyone sliding around on the flour and it was a great time. I had a blast.
That's awesome. Were there any other like big moments for you that you were like, wow, this is a show. Wow.
I think I kind of didn't realize how awesome the demo area would be. And it was
Hmm.
packed all the time with
Hmm.
some really huge names. And I really loved the women in pizza with
The
get
hands-on.
in there and make your own pizza. That was very fun. That was probably, yeah, one of my top experiences of the
So
week.
I don't know if you know this, but I walked over and recorded you making pizza. Like you were stretching dough and making it, and then they put it in the oven for you. And I was like, "Oh, Kate's got to be having the best time over here making dough with all the folks."
I
So I
really
thought that
was.
was cool. The hands-on is one of my favorite demos because you literally it's not people standing in the crowd. It's you're actually down, and they're showing you stretching techniques and topping techniques. So I think it's really cool.
Yeah, it was great. I had so much fun. Absolutely.
Absolutely. All right, well, let's jump into our guest because we have a pretty awesome guest this week.
I agree. So this week we speak with Beau Schooler. He is the executive chef at In Bocca Al Lupo in Juneau, Alaska. And we reached out to him because he was nominated this year for Best Chef Award in the Pacific Northwest by the James Beard Foundation. So that is really exciting.
Yeah, and turns out, I mean, he has been nominated several times. He is a well-known, established chef, and he does some really fun things up there in Alaska. And just the how he's been able to create what he's been able to create, considering everything either has to be barged in or flown in. Could you imagine that, y'all? Being able to create a menu based on just things becoming barged or flown in. It's
Yeah,
insane.
you can't just call the broadliner and say, I'm going to need an extra delivery this week. That is not an option for him.
I especially got a lot of input from his talking about the grains and how he's working with the grains. Like that's really fun because a lot of people are trying to introduce local grains wherever they're located, whether they're here in the lower 48 in Alaska, wherever they're trying to look at how to bring in those local or regional grains. And I just find that really interesting.
For sure. Well, let's get to it.
Performance Food Service is proud to deliver high-quality products, innovative technology, and custom operational solutions to restaurants of all sizes across the country. The flagship division of Performance Food Group, with deep roots in the restaurant industry, Performance Food Service has been the exclusive distributor of the Roma family of brands for more than 65 years. This signature relationship has allowed Performance Food Service to become a leader in the pizza and Italian segment of food service nationwide.
Are you ready to elevate your bakeware game? Spokane, Washington-based Lloyd Pans is the trusted name for professionals and home chefs alike. For over 40 years, Lloyd Pans has been creating innovative food service, bakeware, and pizza pans and tools designed to deliver perfect results every time. Whether it's crispy golden pizza crusts or perfectly baked pastries, Lloyd Pans' durable, stick-resistant, and proprietary pan finishes are a game changer. Visit lloydpans.com to explore our full lineup and find your perfect pan today. Need shipping quotes or custom products? Email sales@lloydpans.com for personalized service.
All right. Today we have with us Beau Schooler. Beau is the executive chef at In Bocca Al Lupo in Juneau, Alaska. Thank you for joining us, Beau.
Yeah, hi.
So you were recently nominated for James Beard Award for Best Chef in the Pacific Northwest. Can you
Yeah.
tell us how that all came together?
How that happened?
Yeah, how did you find out?
Oh, well, I found out one of my friends is a media judge. So she was actually at the announcements when it was going on. So I got a text about it. Um, but I've been on and off the list since 2015. So it's kind of been this ongoing thing.
That's exciting. Um, have there been many chefs nominated from Alaska since you've been on and off the list?
No, there's been some semifinalists, and then there's been some America's Classics winners. Recently, there was Wishbone Cafe up north, and a little inn that's kind of over in the region of Alaska that I live in that won one maybe 5, 6 years ago. And then there's a food writer that's won two of them for her essays, but none in the like chef restaurant category.
That's
Yeah.
exciting. Can you tell us a little bit about your background making pizza?
Oh yeah. So I started making pizza when I was 15 at a place called Dinner Dispatch. So it's kind of just like a delivery only setup in a strip mall. And I've been doing pizza at most of the restaurants I've worked at since then. So that would be 20, almost 25 years now.
With your, I love your focus at your restaurant, kind of that Alaska's take on through the Italian lens is kind of your motto. And
Yeah.
tell me a little bit about kind of doing those Alaskan ingredients on pizza and Italian dishes.
Well, yeah. I went to culinary school in Italy, in Calabria. And so when I first opened this restaurant, I wanted to do this like Calabrian restaurant,
Mhm.
or like the Italian food that I learned. And that was so foreign to people here. I think a lot of the people here are expecting like Olive Garden. So, the first year we were trying to do Calabrian food, nobody really liked that. They said it wasn't even Italian food. Then we tried to do what they were expecting, which was kind of like a knockoff Olive Garden. People didn't really like that either. I mean, we didn't like it. So it didn't really translate. So then finally, I was talking with one of my friends, and he said, "You're 5,000 miles away from Italy. You're never going to be an Italian restaurant." And that kind of clicked with me that you're right. We're not. It's never going to be an Italian restaurant. So we started focusing on the Alaskan aspect, whether it's like smoked salmon, seafood, Pacific Northwest grains, that kind of a thing. And that's how we kind of turned into more of like we're an Alaskan restaurant with Italian flavored food. So, the big one is our wheat. For a while there, we were getting Alaskan wheat and putting it in our dough, but it's kind of become too expensive.
Yeah.
And then, so now it's mostly just Pacific Northwest. So a lot of Karen Spring Mills and Shepherd's Grain wheat.
Hmm.
And then, yeah, just trying to use any produce we can from the region, a lot of foraged goods, things like that.
That when you're playing with those grains, when you're working with them, working them into your dough, and especially if you have to change grains from Alaska and back to the more Northwest, what's kind of your process for kind of working through what you want to use and how you want to incorporate those different grains in?
So we typically set up kind of like a Google spreadsheet with all of our percentages. And then we just kind of start making small batches of dough and kind of jacking the lines up and down. We might start with, especially we were getting fresh wheat berries. So we had to mill the wheat fresh, and you can't,
Oh, wow.
to really use like 100% fresh milled wheat, there's a lot more skill and technicality to it. So we were kind of starting where it was 10% of our wheat. And we just kind of start changing the blends until we'll hit something that we liked. We ended up really preferring doing a scald with it. It was the easiest
Hmm.
way to get our dough guy to be able to work with the dough, and it kind of gave us a nice texture without really vastly changing the handling of the dough. Because the problem was the more fresh milled wheat we used, the easier it was to tear the dough. There
Ah.
was kind of a lot more oils left in the grains and stuff. Um, so we switched to a scald, and that worked for a while.
I imagine being in Alaska, you have some challenges related to sourcing ingredients. Could you talk a little bit about how you
He
manage
giggles.
inventory, especially during the winter months?
Yeah, so all of our stuff comes by barge or by plane if we want to pay for it.
Wow.
So everything's at least a week to 10 days out. Some things are 2 weeks out. It kind of depends on where we're getting the product from, unless we want to pay to fly it up, and then it's $1.25 a pound. So it kind of adds up real quick. So it's just a lot of careful planning, and then also just coming to terms and accepting the fact that maybe half your order won't show up.
So you
You
have to
know,
think on the fly, is what you're saying.
it's a lot of that. Yeah. And, eventually you just kind of get used to it. It's the bigger problem comes when we bring chefs up here to do events with us and their stuff doesn't show up and we're all just kind of laughing about it and they're freaking out, pulling their hair out.
Have there been any happy accidents when that's happened where, it's caused you to just have to throw your hands up and just completely go in another direction? Have you had any happy accidents that just caused you to create something that just kind of blew your customers away?
Oh, totally. We kind of laugh about this all the time where we'll have dishes where we'll kind of talk about them and conceptualize and think for weeks, months, just planning this idea we have. And then we put it on the menu and it's a total flop. No one gets it. And then we'll have these ones where it's like, oh, they accidentally shipped us, 50 pounds of carrots. We don't really need it. So we'll just throw a bunch of stuff from the walk-in onto a dish and throw it out there. And it ends up being one of the things people love. We call them throwaway dishes where it's just like, we need something on the menu and we need it now. And so we'll just wing it. And oftentimes that's the stuff people actually really like, which maybe goes to show it when I overthink things, it's not great.
How often do you reimagine your pizza menu?
Not very often. Right now, there's a core 10 pizzas that are really just different variations of like the same 9 ingredients. They just, people tend to like them so much. And since they're simple combinations of the same things, we don't really change the pizza menu, but every week we have a special pizza. So that kind of changes and rotates just depending. And then if people like it and we're selling a lot of them, it might shift its way over to the menu and kind of replace like an older one, especially if they have somewhat similar ingredients and the special pizza is outselling the older pie, we might swap it out. But it's been pretty much the same since we've opened.
What's your special pie right now? Like, what's that special pie?
So we were running one that had like a white sauce, which was garlic and creme fraiche, and Italian sausage and broccolini and Calabrian chilies. And
Oh
then that
man.
one recently was selling so well, we moved that over to the menu. And then now we're running kind of like a vodka sauce pie, but there's a distillery down the street that we're really good friends with that make really good gin. So we're making it with gin instead of vodka.
Huh.
Um, and then it gets whipped ricotta and basil pesto. There's also a big hydroponic farm here. Like
Hmm.
they grow everything in a warehouse. There's no real agriculture here because I'm in a rainforest, so it's
Yeah.
just not very conducive for it. So they grow everything indoors, and they grow a really amazing basil. So
Cool.
we make pesto from their basil. We put it on there, and that one's pretty popular. It's nice.
That's got to be a huge benefit in the winter months and I don't know what it looks like right now there as we're speaking to you in the first part of April, but I could imagine that that's a huge benefit to have that hydroponic greenhouse.
Well, it used to be terrible before they were open. You would order a couple pounds of basil and hope that maybe a quarter of it showed up okay because it got picked who knows when, and then it sat on a barge for a week, and then it got to you, and usually half the time it'd be black,
Hmm.
rotten. So being able to get living basil is great.
That's
Back in the
amazing.
day, I had a friend that grew a bunch of weed, And I asked him if he would grow me basil. And so he said, sure, I can do that. No problem. So one day he shows up with this huge paper bag just filled with basil. It smelled and tasted like wheat. Like he
Oh
was just
no.
right next to all his other plants. I was like, I can't use this. I appreciate the effort.
Like, thanks, but I can't.
Yeah, it's not
That's funny.
really what we're going for.
That's weird.
I read that you also incorporate some Filipino influences into your menu.
Yeah.
Can you talk about that a little bit?
So there's a huge Filipino population here. My kids are Filipino. A lot of their family, which I consider my family, also works for me. So both my front of house managers, my CDC, a large chunk of my staff is all Filipino as well. So there's a lot of kind of re-envisioning Filipino food, often through the lens of Italian with Alaskan ingredients. But, you know, like we might make an adobo, but instead of cane vinegar, we're using balsamic, and then we'll call it like balsamic braised lamb or something like that. Or right now we have lumpia on the menu, but we're filling it with tortellini filling instead of the normal lumpia filling.
That sounds great.
Yeah, and it's just, I mean, it's the same with the Alaskan thing where it's taking the things that we're more familiar with, whether that be Italian dishes of my family's youth, or I mean, Filipino dishes or Italian stuff I learned at school, and then just kind of re-envisioning it with the things that we have on hand.
I can tell you, you had mentioned smoked salmon, and I had been looking at smoked salmon for a long time because I noticed that more people were putting it on their menus. So my question to you is, what are your favorite ways to use smoked salmon, especially for those operators that have never ever thought about using it on a menu?
I mean, there's always the classic, just making like smoked salmon dip, which is just, you know, cream cheese and that kind of stuff, kind of thing you put on a bagel. That's the real easy one. Breaking that all down into its individual parts and putting it on a pizza is really fun. Little globs of cream cheese on a pizza can actually be really nice. They kind of caramelize and get all toasty, and then they're like explode creaminess inside. I don't know. I mean, growing up in Alaska, anytime I think of smoked salmon, I just think of eating it straight.
Yeah.
We always kind of joke. So up here we have a thing called pilot bread. I don't know if you know what that is. It's hardtack. Have you ever seen it?
I have not.
It's just like there. So it's hardtack. You know what that is? It's like survival food. You can buy these crackers and leave them in your cabin for years. They're not going to go bad.
Yeah.
So they don't taste good. They're actually terrible. But if you grew up in Alaska, it's like comfort food. Like you get used to it. So the joke is always that Alaskan pizza would really be a piece of pilot bread with a piece of smoked salmon on top.
That's funny.
But like if you didn't grow up here, I don't think you would find it very appetizing. It's pretty.
I grew up in the
gross.
Midwest. Let me tell you, there are a lot of things
Okay.
that other people would consider gross that I absolutely love.
Yeah. Everywhere you go.
I'm curious about some of your favorite ingredients that you love to work with. Like, is there anything as far as on pizza that you're just that you're really excited to work with right now that you're in your test kitchen just playing around with?
You know, as far as like experimental pizzas, it's pretty much if I make like Al Taglio pan style pizzas. But if it comes to actual just like wood burning traditional pizza, I'm kind of a purist and I really just like margaritas or rosa. You know, I kind of think those are the benchmark. And if you can't make a good margarita, you can't make a good pizza, kind of a thing. So I don't really get too out there with pizza, but if I make Al Taglio, like I love putting potato on pizza. Real big fan of that, whether it's sliced raw or like boiled and crumbled up. I love a potato pie.
That's great. Are there any challenges as far as the weather and trying to get your oven up to temperature?
Yeah, we have, well, I mean, the bigger issue is wood, just because a rainforest. So we have to bring up kiln-dried wood. There's no one around us that does it. So that automatically adds a big expense. And then when it gets here, there's a rush to get it inside and get it stored right away because it's pretty much always raining here. So keeping it dry. But, and then, yeah, we're in a very old building. So in the wintertime, our dining room will be like 50 degrees. So it gets real cold and stays real cold. But I mean, the ovens are so well designed that they stay nice and warm as long as you get that fire going initially. So it's not too much of a hassle as long as we're handling the wood well.
Was it hard to get an oven up to your neck of the woods?
No, we just bought one of the kits, and so we built it in the oven, and it wasn't too hard at all.
Ooh, that sounds very cool.
You've been able to gain this international acclaim there in Alaska. Kind of what do you attribute that to? How have you been able to really get your word out to expand beyond your local reach?
Oh, if I knew, yeah, I feel like it's something we stumbled into. So 2014 or 13, long time ago, a really famous food writer came up, and now I'm totally blanking her name. Ruth Rachel.
Okay.
She was like the New York Times reviewer, food critic for a very long time. She came up, I think she was just up on a trip, not doing any kind of actual work. But she came to our restaurant, the Rookery Cafe. It's another place I own. So she came there and she tried the food and ended up writing this kind of article, blog, essay kind of thing about how she had the best scallops of her life.
Oh,
and
nice.
that really kind of kicked it off. Yeah, like after that, things started happening where like we got approached by the New York Times who wanted to write about the scallops, and then other kind of food writers that come up. That really kind of got the ball rolling on all that. But as far as like how we've achieved this kind of level, considering where we are, like geographically in the world, I have no idea.
Yeah. Did the locals know how high your prestige is?
No, it's kind of funny. Like here, it's like the James Beard stuff comes out. They're like, what is that? I don't know what that is,
Yeah.
And it's also just like, I've been here living in Juneau almost 20 years. You just kind of grow with the people and they kind of get used to it. Like the only thing we always hear is they complain about the fact that they have to make reservations now.
Oh,
Because you could just always walk into the restaurant, and now you got to make a reservation 2 or 3 days ahead of time. And it's like,
hey, at least they're able to get in,
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
that's fun. Is there any unique Alaskan ingredient that maybe you can't get that we wouldn't think to put in any menu item? Is there something that you use that we wouldn't necessarily think of using here in the lower 48?
I mean, if it comes to that kind of stuff, that's usually more of like the more obscure stuff is really going to be subsistence things and things that I wouldn't legally be able to sell in the first place.
I got you.
I mean, there's like seal oil and herring eggs, and one of our friends brought in some sea lion not too long ago, and we made pot roast with it. But none of that stuff, like the real Alaskan ingredients, like from the wild kind of stuff, I'm not legally able to sell to the public. So
I got you.
There's things we have access to that we'll cook and eat with like family and friends. But as far as the restaurant, it's pretty, it's pretty standard and nothing too
crazy. I got you.
Yeah.
I got you.
So, Beau, will you be attending the James Beard Awards ceremony?
Yeah, I have to. I'm one of the people cooking at the gala afterwards.
Oh.
So I don't know. I gotta juggle my time pretty well here. So it's going to be a pretty busy night.
That's
You know what you're making at the gala?
Scallops. It's
Oh,
the
it's the
same
scallops, of
scallop
course.
dish, yeah, from 13 years ago or whatever.
Well, we wish you best of luck. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Yeah, thanks. Nice talking with you.
You too.
Awesome.
Bye.
Thanks.
All right.